Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. We are your hosts, Tyler Callahan and Mike Ferrante. Mike, how you doing this week?
Well, Tyler, throw some ice on top of me because I am chilling.
I mean, you're not popping confetti or fireworks?
Um, I'm, I'm pretty chilling right now, man. I
Oh,
could
okay.
be tossed into a glass of whiskey. That's how chilling I am.
Oh, yeah. Very happy for you. I just came out of a 3-day hangover over the news we got last week.
Oh,
I don't know if
indeed.
that's a good thing or bad thing for me, but yeah, obviously, uh, both of us were both big DC fans. Jesus has answered our prayers, and by Jesus, I mean the AT&T executives.
That is correct.
As someone who's big into tech, I did not think I'd be saying thank you AT&T, but it is 2020, so anything can happen. So thank you AT&T for giving us the Snyder Cut, a Justice League. They said it could never be done, but
They said
turn
it didn't exist.
turns out when you need HBO Max to be very successful, you'll throw any idea at the wall.
Yes. So today, obviously, we are talking about the Snyder Cut and the opportunities that the Snyder Cut could possibly bring into our future involving the DCEU.
Yeah. Also, funny you mentioned DCEU. With HBO Max launching today, as of this recording, under the DC tab, there is officially DC Extended Universe. So technically, Warner Brothers has named it officially that. Before, it's been always a nickname that they've never said don't say, but now it's officially they've taken the name. So it's good to see. But yeah, Justice League, Zack Snyder. How it came about, before we get into it, is Zack Snyder has been hosting director commentary sessions. He did one for Batman v Superman last week. He did one for Man of Steel. At the end, which was unusual compared to the last one, is he had a Q&A. Everything seemed fine for a few minutes, and then, boom, Henry Cavill comes in, does a little Q&A with some fans, questions on Twitter, and then yeah, they just show off a poster saying it's real, and afterwards you got press releases and all that. Uh, it's officially called Zack Snyder's Justice League. It's coming next year on HBO Max. There were a couple of rumors as soon as everything came out that there might be a limited theatrical release, but the main home for it is HBO Max. They want you to subscribe to it. Besides that, we have no other details, uh, which is a bit weird, don't you think?
Definitely a little bit strange. I mean, we do have details. It's very few details. Like Zack Snyder said, anyone who saw Justice League only saw a quarter of his film because this Justice League we're supposed to be getting is supposed to be astronomically different. Now, I don't know how true that can be if they're not reshooting the main cast, which is what I heard.
Well, if and over the past few years, Zack Snyder has, you could say, teased or informed fans, depending on how you want to call it, what his Justice League version included. What this means is he shot about 4 hours worth of footage for a movie. Now, obviously, most of that is before CGI rendering and editing, but technically there is 4 hours that he filmed before he left the project, and that includes stuff from extended cyborg scenes where he had more of a plot with his
Yep.
father. You have
And extended flash scenes as well.
you have more scenes with Batman and Diana, Wonder Woman, trying to lead this team. You have more Steppenwolf. You have, oh, I don't know, teasing Darkseid.
Darkseid.
Yeah.
Darkseid
Um,
actually making an appearance with that actor who played him, saying, "Yep, it's official. I can say it because I was greenlighted to say it. I played Uaxis, aka Darkseid."
yep. And in case that wasn't enough for you, Zack Snyder, in celebration of HBO Max today, posted a picture of Darkseid saying he's coming. Hashtag HBO Max. So if you still don't believe we're going to see some live action Darkseid next year, you're wrong. He's coming. Now, that leads us into one of our issues. What's the point? Like,
Well, you can look at this two ways. This is Zack Snyder's return to Warner Brothers because he was low key fired from Justice League. And that being said, he was kind of, I don't want to say blacklisted from Warner Brothers, but it kind of seemed like he was never going to work for them again. Now, with this being said, this opens up the potential, if this movie is better than the original Justice League, which it probably will be, like hands down, we could potentially see Zack Snyder's Justice League too. and we could potentially have two Batmans in the same time frames, because it's also been hinted that Ben Affleck could return as Batman.
I want to believe it. I want to believe that, the Robert Pattinson Batman with Matt Reeves, that will be their own trilogy in their own corner, and then you have Batman back once in a while for a Justice League movie. Like, I want to believe it. It's just, see, here's the thing. You said it needs to be better than the original Justice League. I don't think it needs to be better than that. It needs to be a standout smash hit. It needs to be so good. The people who did not like Justice League, Batman v Superman, Man of Steel, are like, Zack Snyder, we're wrong. You got Justice League right. And I don't think it's going to happen. If I'm being honest, I'm happy this is happening. Because I'm happy a director seeing his work finished, which is great. But there's already a sizable amount of people that don't like Zack Snyder's touch on DC.
That's true.
I don't think everything he's done is perfect. I think a lot of it is good. I see where he's coming from, and I like where he tries to push stuff. But overall, a majority of the fans don't like it. That is seen in Batman v Superman's terrible Rotten Tomato score. Justice League, same thing. And the box office returns on those movies were disappointing. And in case in point,
not Batman vs Superman.
No, that was terrible.
The box office for Batman vs Superman?
Yes, that, as someone who follows box office numbers, those numbers, the legs on that movie were trash. I'm sorry, but the title Batman v Superman should be an instant $1 billion, and the fact that it didn't speaks on how much people did not like that movie. That movie dropped drastically within its opening weekend and continued from there.
Yeah, I could see that.
And honest, you have to remember, the failure of Batman v Superman at the box office is what pushed Warner Brothers to be more pushy on Zack Snyder. Before that, he had free reign on Man of Steel, and for the most part, Batman v Superman. It's that failure that pushed Justice League. Is like, hey, can you make it funnier? Huh?
I wouldn't say that, because Warner Brothers did step in with Batman vs Superman a good amount.
They did a bit. I'm not saying it had complete free reign, but it's what happened there is what pushed Justice League to the way it is now. And I think, case in point, every other director, for the most part, has succeeded in having a good Rotten Tomato score and a better fan reaction. Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Birds of Prey, now some of them not money-wise, Birds of Prey.
Yeah.
But, I mean, as much as we like Zack Snyder's work, be it this or 300 or Watchmen, we have to recognize that a sizable amount of people just don't like the work he does. They don't.
True.
And I think for Justice League 2 to happen, because I want to see Darkseid go all out against Justice League. For that to happen, we need to see record numbers of signups for HBO Max.
Well, see, now we're getting into a different territory, too, because Justice League 2 could very well happen. It might just have a different director.
That's true. I do think down the road another Justice League movie will happen. Warner Brothers is a bit slow with the DC movies these past few years, but I would say within 6 years we would have. Fine.
They tried rushing it too much.
That's true. I want them to take their time.
That kind of is what happens when they rush the films. We get Justice League, which is just a shit show and a half, because they threw at us like 8 different characters. Being a little dramatic here, but didn't give us any backstories. None of them had their own solo films. For the Avengers to work, the majority of them had their own solo films before it. Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. Technically, the Hulk actually had one. Because in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Edward Norton's Hulk movie, that is canon.
Yeah, it is. And to agree with you on Justice League, like you said, they added a bunch of characters, right? They threw in Cyborg, Flash, all of that. They also mandated that the final cut be 2 hours. So you're having a big franchise movie that's got to be shorter than every single Avengers movie and most DC movies. Disney had no problem.
3 new characters.
Mm-hmm.
3 new main characters at that.
Disney had no problem with the Russo brothers asking for almost a 3-hour runtime for Avengers Endgame. And even Infinity War, was just under 2.5 hours. Justice League's 2 hours. I mean, you have no time to put in backstory.
Yeah. I mean, even Winter Soldier was longer than a lot of the other films.
Yeah. So definitely, I think what you brought up though is I think a fine middle ground. If there is success with the Snyder Cut, and they can ideally get Henry Cavill back as Superman, at least. If they only
Well, I
swap out,
think that's another thing we can kind of look into too. Why did Henry Cavill, who's been very quiet with the whole release of Snyder Cut thing, I think it's a little bit show telling that he was the one to pop on. And especially because of recent reports that came out before we even knew the Snyder Cut was happening, that they were putting a halt on the Supergirl movie and going back to a Superman movie.
well, I think you're right. There's a point because remember last November, a lot of actors and people around the movie, supported release of Snyder Cut. He was the one noticeable person that didn't say anything. Besides the fact that he came onto this one perfect timing because it's Man of Steel, it's his movie. The reports were last year was that Warner Brothers didn't want to pay him. He wanted a raise.
Correct.
The agent pushed him for a raise. Warner Brothers said no, and so he walked away. I think the reason why he was quiet, and it's smart, is your negotiations. I think negotiations never really stopped between the two. It's just Warner Brothers needed to make plans in case it fell through. There's your Supergirl and all of that, the Shazam, where we'll show the chest, but we won't show the head, right? Got to get the movie out. So I think you're right in him appearing now and him talking about the Snyder Cut. There are now new rumors that they're about to make a deal and close the deal for another 2 movies at least. So I think Warner Brothers is like, all right, let's pay him. Or it could be like this, Zack Snyder and AT&T's like, you fucking pay this guy right now so we can get Man of Steel 2.
Yeah, because we never really got a true Man of Steel 2.
Mm-hmm.
We got
Nope.
Batman vs. Superman, which I don't even think that was Zack Snyder's image to do Batman vs. Superman that soon.
Yeah. So I think a Justice League, if this is successful, I think a Justice League with the only swap out at most being Batman. You can add in Shazam with a different director, maybe Zack Snyder as a producer or executive producer. I think would help.
Yeah, I mean, that could definitely work too. But who knows right now? I mean, it's still way too early to tell. I know we're the people who wanted to see Zack Snyder's Justice League, the people who liked the filming style of Man of Steel, Batman vs. Superman. Yes, there were issues with Batman vs. Superman when it came to the plot, but for the most part, that movie was beautifully shot, and the acting was pretty good too.
Yeah, I mean, you may have issues with what Batman does as a character, and I understand that, but you can't deny Ben Affleck fucking killed in his performance.
Oh yeah, he was probably the great, and it was mostly Bruce Wayne that we saw too.
Yeah,
and Ben Affleck is like the perfect Bruce Wayne persona. He just acted it out great, and his stunt double for Batman is also great because that warehouse scene is still the greatest fight scene in comic book history, in my opinion.
Yeah, we're 4 years in, and we still haven't had a scene, I think, that tops it. Yeah, Justice League 2, that's going to be a while off, because, I mean...
Yeah, I mean, we're...
Coronavirus pushes back the next 2 years. We got Shazam 2, Black Adam, Wonder Woman 2. Like, we got movies to do. And, of course, obviously, can't forget about the spin-off Batman and their first movie. But, you mentioned earlier that this could lead into other stuff. And... I mean, you're right. This opens up the doors not only in the future, but in the past, as David Ayer is now pushing for a Ayer cut of Suicide Squad.
Correct. Which, honestly, is going to be a lot harder to pull off than the Snyder Cut.
I think actually it'd be a lot easier.
Really?
For the main fact that as far as we know, his CGI and everything was filmed. His movie got cut up not during production, but during editing. When it was reported Warner Brothers gave the movie to a trailer company, and they edited the movie. So it might only cost $10-15 million to finish up a couple CGI scenes and then re-edit the movie.
Yeah, who knows? Because there's a lot more Jared Leto as Joker performance than what we saw.
Yes, honestly, that's the only reason I would care about the Ayer cut.
Yeah, because I want to give the man his proper credit. He's a good actor. We didn't get enough of him to really settle into his
You mean
Joker.
like the 15 minutes?
His Joker was so drastically different than what everyone was expecting, and everyone still had, Heath Ledger's taste in their mouth.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the very least from this, we would get a fair shot, be a fair judge to Jared Leto's Joker. From what David Ayer has been tweeting and posting, is that he would basically be more of an antagonist to the group and working with Enchantress. So you'd
Which
obviously
would basically be more comic accurate too.
Yes, and also they wouldn't hide the abusive relationship he has with Harley. So I'm definitely interested in the movie because I hated that movie. If I can see another version of it and I like it just a bit more, then great, get the bad taste out of my mouth. But do, I think the issue for that one though is you have another Suicide Squad coming out next year.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Warner Brothers yeah, we want to do it, but we also want to support James Gunn and his version of Suicide Squad. So
yeah, honestly, the Suicide Squad movie we got seemed like a knockoff of Guardians of the Galaxy.
now, I don't know if this says much, but publicly on Twitter, both James Gunn and David Ayer have shown some love to each other on Twitter, and James Gunn seems to at least support David Ayer getting his cut. And David Ayer has likewise shared his support of it. Looking forward to seeing the new take on it. So, good thing is there's no bad blood there. It's just, does Warner Brothers want to do? Because that's the thing too. David Ayer has been pumping this up now because, let's be honest, no one's been rooting for a cut of the movie. I feel bad for him, but no one is asking for it.
Yeah, because unfortunately, when Zack Snyder gets snubbed, it kind of, the Ayer cut gets put on the back burner because the release of Snyder Cut thing was huge.
There were ads in Times Square, on billboards in Times Square to release Snyder Cut.
Yeah, I'm curious who paid for those.
Obviously, some people that have a lot of money, a lot more money than us, and they care about this cut a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you used to see banners flying in the sky saying "Release the Snyder Cut" from planes.
Mm-hmm. Comic-Con happens, people go to the Warner Brothers studio, they dress up, release Snyder Cut. There was a whole movement just asking to see it. And for David Ayer, there wasn't much for Suicide Squad. But it's not much, but you told me earlier that, the AT&T Twitter account is publicly tweeting him and, being coy or, kind of approving of him asking for it.
Yeah, saying you never know, anything can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Which, but honestly, I feel like that goes back to Justice League and the Snyder Cut. If the Snyder Cut is good, I think they will reconsider the Ayer Cut and they will open the doors to more opportunities and kind of revamp past opportunities as well.
Yeah, and if we have to make an actual guess, I would say they do it. Assuming the budget is $10-15 million, I think they'll just get it over with. Just so they can say, look, okay, Warner Brothers, the production of these two movies were a mess. The new team brought in Warner Brothers, new CEO and all that. They've come in, they have fixed that. They left both directors happy. The final cuts are out. Let's move forward. Because we don't know what happened between Suicide Squad and Justice League. We don't know full details. But Warner Brothers did not get a good look when these movies came out. There's no good press about what happened.
Yeah.
So with AT&T coming in with the HBO Max, they got money to spend, which they keep putting on debt to spend this money, but whatever. This is a chance for Warner Brothers to make amends and get a lot of good publicity, which right now they already have with this announcement. No one's really no, how dare you? It's no.
Yeah, because it's not a very bad look on a studio when they kind of fire a director mid-production, give it to someone else, and then the movie is complete garbage. It looks bad because it means you hired someone for the job to do their take on it, and then you don't like their taste. You're like, all right, you're done, get out. Then what did you hire them for in the first place? You should have hired someone else.
See, that's why I'm not willing to completely badmouth Warner Brothers, because there has to be some behind-the-scenes details. Maybe Zack Snyder was going over budget, or something. Now, look, clearly the guy that ran the studio at the time was not doing a good job, and look, a sexual scandal got him out. Thank God.
He was trying to make a lot of bonuses too by releasing movies early that weren't ready, like Live by Night.
And
Which,
Justice League. Justice League was pushed to come out in November so they can meet their yearly bonuses.
which honestly, I don't think Live by Night would have been much better if Ben Affleck had the extra time for it. But it probably would have been. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, you've always told me the first half is really great, and then it just kind of collapses.
It does.
It seems like they didn't have the time to fine tune it.
Yeah, it kind of seems like they're just like, all right, we got to wrap it up real quick. Let's do a wrap up story. Like his first half when he rises to power is a great film, and then it just substantially drops off in quality halfway through. So that could have something to do with rush production, them trying to get it ready for Oscar season. Meanwhile, I don't think Ben Affleck was really trying to make an Oscar movie.
I mean, he wants to make a movie he wants to make. If it turns out to be an Oscar contender, great. But yeah.
Yeah. Because he already gave Warner Brothers, 2 Oscars? 2 or 1? I can't remember if The Town got one.
I may have gotten nominated, but I don't think it won anything. Argo's the one that won stuff.
Yeah. So I guess Warner Brothers just assumed, oh, it's Ben Affleck. He's always an Oscar contender, so it's going to be great. Just rush it.
True. But again, that's more on the previous management. Like, there is sweeping new management at Warner Brothers, and I guess now Warner Media as a whole. And so far, I think they've been doing great. They let Matt Reeves take his time with the script for Batman before they finally filmed it. Started to film it, because, I mean, he's been working on that script for like 2 years before they started putting everything together. They obviously hired James Gunn, and it seems like they let him do what he wants in making the Suicide Squad. He has nothing but good things to say. They're doing, making amends with Zack Snyder, possibly David Ayer. So at least on the DC side, they are very much on the up and up.
Yes, we can only go up from here because DC kind of hit an all-time low.
Oh yeah, no, that Justice League release was the all-time low. Like, it's great they're on the up and up with relationships and making better movies. It can only go up from here.
Because Wonder Woman was that last glimmer of hope that Justice League might have been good, and then
we saw the movie.
Yeah, we saw a movie.
I don't not like.
Yeah, that and the fact that we're following one Russian family to try and make us think about the people in the town, but we only see one Russian family in this random house in the middle of nowhere.
What, you didn't like him hiding underneath the table?
Yeah, like, oh, it's funny. The kid grabbed the bug spray. Oh, good joke, Whedon.
Parademons bugs, get it?
Yeah, you know what would be funny? If we made the Flash fall on top of Wonder Woman and have his face in her chest, almost like we exactly did in Avengers Age of Ultron. Because it was so funny then. We should do it again in this franchise, too.
Do you know how much I laughed the first time I saw that in Avengers?
Not at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's, like, not comedy, really.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that was great comedy 20 years ago, 30 years ago.
That Mark Ruffalo's dream come true? Possibly. But, it doesn't mean it's funny.
Yeah. If anything, it's a bit demoralizing, but,
Yeah.
So, I think we've said our piece about Justice League and I guess HBO Max and DC in general. We were going to do something else this week, but clearly this news has shocked the entertainment industry, and it kind of shows with the streaming wars now fully on. If a company has money to spend, they will fund a lot of stuff.
Yeah, it'll be an interesting couple of years.
I mean, we're looking at $30 million to get this movie out. So, and the movie's already like $300 million with those extra reshoots. So, final cost of Justice League. Would this make this, with the extra $30 million, would it count it being the most expensive movie ever?
I don't know. I'm interested in Endgame because that probably costed a lot.
I checked recently, and I think it's either Avengers Endgame now that's the most expensive, or there was one I saw that's been up there for most of the past 10 years. Pirates of the Caribbean 4.
Really?
Apparently, because a lot of filming out of water is expensive, it cost over $300 million to make, almost $350.
Oh, damn.
But Infinity War and Endgame filmed back to back, so I don't know what the exact budget of Endgame is. I would assume it'd be up there.
It couldn't be anything less than 300 mil.
No, I would expect 300 mil, but I do wonder if Justice League hits 330, 350, would that make it the biggest movie ever made?
Or would it make the cheapest movie ever me because this is Zack Snyder's Justice League and it's a whole different movie.
That's true.
For 30 million,
Wow, look at all these effects for 30 mil.
right? We got a whole nother movie for 30 mil.
Shit, how'd you get Ben Affleck on a budget?
You see, we paid him under a different.
Well, you see, there's this thing called money laundering.
Yeah, he thought he was doing Gone Girl too.
He was like, "Where's the shower scene?"
And then we said, "Nah, Ben, just do a deep, gravelly voice."
All right, but if anyone has any thoughts about Justice League, which I assume people do, considering how big this was the past few years, where can they let us know?
Well, as always, how do you guys feel about the Snyder Cut? Are you all for it? Are you against it? Do you think Zack Snyder's time is over, or do you want to see his vision of the Justice League, the movie that we were all promised but never received? You can feel free to let us know either Instagram, which is Entertainment Expansion, our Facebook, our YouTube. There's a lot of good stuff on there. Definitely let us know what you guys are thinking about this. We want to know what your thoughts. We would be more than willing to read it on the air and continue this debate a little bit further. Because I know, for me personally, I could talk about the Snyder Cut all day long, and I'm sure Tyler can too. But it's good to get other opinions and aspects into it. Let us know.
So I don't know if I want to bring this up right now before we end the podcast. There may be some possible breaking news right now.
I'm sorry.
I just saw on Twitter, not Variety, Deadline is exclusively reporting that Henry Cavill is in talks to reprise his role as Superman.
So I would be right.
However, not in a Man of Steel sequel.
I'm sorry.
Quote, "We hear Cavill could come back in a couple of different ways. Not a standalone film, but there are plans to put him back in the big red cape again. Sources with knowledge inform us. Warner Brothers is not developing a Man of Steel sequel, and Wonder Woman 1984 and Suicide Squad are in the can. Superman isn't expected to make a cameo in Matt Reeves' The Batman. The other projects where he could make a cameo are Shazam 2 and Black Adam. When reached, Warner Brothers provided no comment. So I'm thinking Justice League 2.
Potentially, but there's still that rumor floating around in Man of Steel or another Superman film, and it's too early to talk right now.
No, it is. I just wanted to bring it up because before the rumors were from random Twitter people, but the fact that a trusted source is saying it means there's something to it.
Who knows what the future will tell?
Yeah, maybe we'll be back in a few weeks saying, he's back on a 5-year, 5-movie deal, and we'll be celebrating again. But until then,
have another 40 podcast.
Yeah. That'll be it for this week's episode of Entertainment Expansion. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.